Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Onepeg. In this video, we're going to talk about whether or not we believe that the very first patch that we have seen, the very first major seasonal shifting patch, the first large content patch that we have seen since Dark and Darker went live, is going to be worth all of the hype. There are patch notes that just got released. The game is being brought down at 7:15 Eastern Standard Time, which is GMT -5, and will remain that way for 6 hours, meaning that the game will not be live until somewhere around 1:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for those of you living in the EU, unfortunately, that means it's going to be the wee early hours of the morning. People on the West Coast will be able to experience it somewhere around bedtime if you're a normie, and the rest of us, like me, will be getting up just after midnight after a short nap to see if we can put in some serious hours or not. When this game ends up hitting the servers, we'll probably start a little bit earlier while we wait. I have a whole bunch of magic packs that I got in a couple of Lost Caverns of Ixalan boxes. I got about 60 or so packs that we'll be ripping while we wait, just to pass the time. So if you want to come by the waiting room, I'll probably start that somewhere around 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time while we wait for the servers to go live and kind of rip some magic packs, because why not? Anyway, on to the patch notes. And I will make sure that I move my stupid mug out of the way as we progress down through. So the servers will return 6 hours after the patch actually physically begins, which is 7:15 p.m. Eastern, and will last 6 hours. During maintenance, obviously, all services will be suspended. So we have a start of a new season. All character levels, gold items, and triumph levels will be wiped. Bluestone shards and shop cosmetic items are not wiped. So just so that everybody understands, this also means that any stash tabs or anything that anybody had bought, all of that is also going to be wiped. You get to keep all of your characters' names, but all of your characters will be reverted back to level 1. So the character names and their class types will all still be there. A new quest system will be added to the merchants. The quest system is estimated to be roughly 30 quests, according to an interview that I had with Terry to talk about this patch. Will be approximately 30 quests, and there will be an affinity system, which is listed here. Improve your relationship with merchants to unlock more items for sale, more craft items, and better prices. So for those of you that have played Escape from Tarkov, you should be relatively familiar with this system where you get better trader levels, which will offer you more things for purchase. We have no idea where this tops out, whether or not he's only going to show you grays at the very beginning, and that will eventually lead to some blue choices, or if you will be able to actually level into something like purples as being part of their inventory or not. I personally would like to be able to see there be some level of progress here where we would have access to blues and purple items, even if the purples items were only like 1 per rotation or something. I still feel like that would make us feel as though we've been working toward and achieving something. Adventure title rank system for the high roller dungeons is being added. The adventure title rank system is a new system that they've been doing. There's a path of achievement. Each level will have its own reward associated with it, and depending on what level you reach, when the game switches to the next season, so the season after this one, 3 months from now, we will then get those rewards at the beginning of the next season. A results window for high roller dungeons. So there will be some baseline statistics in terms of XP generated, gold taken out of the dungeon, etc. There will not yet be an end of match detail screen, though, to tell you, like, who you hit, who hit you, what you died from, who you killed. Those things are still a work in progress and will come later. New attributes: vigor and dexterity, along with health recovery bonus and spell recovery sub attributes. So what's interesting about this that was not included before is how vigor is going to affect things. So vigor being included with spell recovery, it seems, unless this is tied to dexterity, but I wonder if it's still part of the vigor system. What they're outlining here is that the strength attribute has now been split into strength and vigor. Vigor is going to be primarily centralized around HP, so 75% of that stat is going to be HP, 25% of that vigor stat is going to be attributed to doing damage, and then strength is weighted the other way, 75% for damage and 25% toward health. There is a secondary ability with vigor, though, that provides you a health recovery bonus when you sit down to rest. So all that recoverable health, the more vigor that you have, the faster that recovery will occur. Insofar as spell recovery bonus, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be with dexterity or vigor and works the same way with the vigor stat or not. On the dexterity side of things, that is a split off from agility. Agility is now going to be centralized Again, same type of weight, extra weight given toward agility for movement speed, and then dexterity is going to be more around action speed, so swinging of a weapon speed as opposed to moving fast. Dexterity is also going to be involved with interaction speed, so opening doors or opening chests is going to be tied to dex. We don't yet know how exactly this is going to be allocated on all of our gear, but it's something that you definitely will need to now make a choice with insofar as whether or not you want to run fast or swing fast, or whether or not you want a larger HP pool making you more spongy, or if you want to dole out more damage. I think, based on what the meta was this past patch, that it's going to be more along the lines of trying to make yourself more spongy than it will be to make it so that you can just like 1 or 2 tap opponents. Okay, all classes have had their base attributes rebalanced to include the new attributes, but we don't know how, and we'll all find out together. Several new items that confer the new attributes. So we have new gear that's being added, but we don't know exactly what or how much. Again, it's one of those things that we will definitely be working through all the data, and I will get you a summary as soon as I possibly can. Primary stats of many items have been updated. The primary stats are the white text stats. So things like 3 knowledge on a necklace of peace if it's purple, or 2 knowledge if it's blue, or 2 all stats on a shadow mask if it's blue, or 1 all if it's white or green, or it could be 2 if it's green, of course, too. Primary stats of cobalt and ruby silver items have been updated. Again, we don't know exactly how, but this will be interesting to see what they've changed to. New iron and copper ore is being added as a mineable resource that we will then be able to use for new crafts. Ore spawns have been updated. New craft resources, iron, copper, and silver ingots, and powder. So again, iron, copper, and silver being things that we'll be able to use to craft stuff. New craft items being added, including iron, copper, and golden crafted items. So again, a new use for gold bars, it appears, along with all of the new materials, which is kind of hype. I do love when they add new crafted stuff to this game. Golden items were really kind of few and far between. There was a necklace and a ring that you could craft, the Grim stuff. That being kind of changed is good, and new golden items are good. Maybe it's more jewelry options so that it doesn't just get centralized around luck. Anything that would increase the usability of mined items is always going to be a W in my book. New silver crafted weapons that give an undead slaying bonus. So this is interesting, where we'll have something that actually does bonus damage to the undead mobs. I wonder if it also would do bonus damage to people that wear the skeleton skin. I doubt that will be the case, but it would be cool to see. Iron can be used to craft throwing knives, Francesca axes, hunting traps, lockpicks, and trap disarming kits. So trap disarming kits is something new that we hadn't seen before. I wonder if a trap disarm kit means that you could disarm the physical traps on the map that already pre-exist, or if you could use them to like do a speedy trap disarm on the hunting traps. I guess we'll have to see. Loot state is now displayed for items. Starter items start as supplied. So items extracted from the dungeons for the first time appear as looted. Items become handled once they are successfully brought in and extracted from a dungeon or traded. All handled items can now be placed in your stash. Okay, so supplied items obviously are going to be considered junk starter items and won't be something that can be tradable. We already knew that that was a thing. Looted items is found in raid, so that should be relatively straightforward. The reason for this looted tag is because we know that the quest system, where it's like go out and find these items for me, is only going to be usable if the item is considered looted or found in raid. Once it becomes handled, it will not be able to be handed in for a task or a mission, quest, however you want to put it. Bid adieu to Jack and welcome the return of Jolly Nicholas to the merchants. So instead of using candy corn, we now have candy canes. Those will be the new like bonus purple trader merchant. I assume that the stats on those items are once again going to be randomized, and we won't know exactly what they are. Skill and perk descriptions have now been standardized. So this is interesting. So we'll see exactly what that means. I'm assuming that whatever the bonus is, it'll be more of a standard description. A player statistics menu is available from the main menu. So this will give historical stats. Eventually, what they're going to do is do something from like the beginning of account creation or inception, and then they're going to have things broken out by season, very similar to what you would see in like a Diablo 4 breakdown. Elite Warlord added to the High Roller Inferno. I wonder if Warlord has had its bugs fixed. So this is something that I've been working with SDF in the past on. I've sent him firsthand video where the Warlord can bug and does like this chain of events where if you stand in those little wedges that they'll spawn on the floor, if you stand in them for too long, the way it's supposed to work is that generates up to a certain number of stacks, and then when those stacks trigger, it puts like a bone prison around you. Then you have to hit with a melee weapon or cast a spell on to break it, and then you can again move. While you're stuck in that, his minions can obviously DPS you down and you can die. However, one of the pieces of this that was bugged is that if the fight drags on for, say, a couple of minutes, sometimes what happens is someone gets randomly selected in the party that is fighting him, and even though they're not standing in those wedges that is illuminated on the floor, they just keep taking that stacking debuff, and eventually you get caged, like, just repeatedly. Even going so far as to, like, if you die and they reset the boss, the cage will just keep spawning on your corpse even. I have first-hand footage of that I sent to SDF. I'm hoping that that's something that they fixed. I guess I'll have to double check with them. For now, though, I would be very wary of fighting Warlord unless you have some insane DPS, because that bug may still exist, and you could end up just, like, losing a kit based on that alone, which is really frustrating. New Cyclops boss is added to Goblin Caves. Goblin Caves only has the Cyclops boss on the normal version of Goblin Cave for now. There is no high roller version. So if you want to see the Cyclops in GC, you're going to have to go into the normal version in order to be able to fight. The number of portals has been increased for GC. That's interesting too, because you can only have 9 people on GC. At one point it was 7. I think it's back up to 9 now. So we'll see if there's enough portals for everyone again, enough exits for everyone, or if people are still going to have to die. Visual improvements to the fixed portals, and they now appear on the minimap. So that's even more interesting. The fact that they're putting the fixed portals on the minimap so that you can see where they pop up, it looks like a step in the direction of them having this new map not include the BR circle and having fixed positions for those fixed extractions on the new map once the ice map is released. Visual improvements to the female elf head. Oh, Jay Griffey is going to be super happy with that. Animations modified for the Loot, Chris Dagger, Magic Staff, and Crystal Sword. So this is interesting too. I wonder if this means that the Chris is going to be faster or have more angular attacks, or if the Magic Staff has a longer reach, potentially. And I'd really like to see what they did with the Crystal Sword, because there was a lot of complaints about the Crystal Sword's animations, especially when casting. Not that anyone really uses it for a casting focus because it doesn't have any spell damage on it. Anyway, another video. 2 new emotes added. Loser and Money, Money, Money. Oh, I'm buying those instantly. New wizard spell, Explosion. So we don't know how Explosion works. So when the patch goes live, I will make sure that we go in, we test how it works and what it does. That will be the very first thing that we do. Wizard's fireball count has been lowered from 5 to 4. Wizard's magic missile attribute bonus rate increased from 50 to 100%. So we get 100% damage scaling once again on magic missile. That's very interesting. I never thought that I would actually see a wizard buff, even though this is a nerf to fireball count. Being buffed back on magic missile, when you're really decked out on a wizard, the amount of damage output that you have is pretty insane. The biggest benefit to this is base kit wizard is going to have significantly better PvE clear. Bard's Rousing Rhythms, all attribute bonus has been changed from 123 to 222. So Rousing Rhythms, I guess you're just going to play awful on purpose because whatever. Although you will get a longer duration buff based on resourcefulness if you play the song well. The strength that can be obtained from all grades of ale has been reduced. So no more, or I guess at least a little bit less in terms of people chugging brews in order to be able to get that massive strength buff out of the green ale to then better truck your enemies, because the green ale was giving like 15% magic damage or physical power bonus. And here's what they had to say in the description. Hi adventurers, thank you for joining us for early access patch number 2. This major update includes a full wipe of character levels, gold items, and triumph levels. All blue stone shards and shop cosmetic items are not wiped. This update also introduces 2 major features, the first iteration of our quest system and the new adventure title system. Merchants now give the quests that can be completed to earn extra rewards and unlock access to better items, crafts, and deals. The adventure title system allows adventurers to test their skills in the high roller dungeons to progress through ranks and earn rewards for the next season. We will reveal the rewards for each title in the upcoming weeks. We have revealed the first reward as an exclusive Nightmare Skeleton skin for reaching the Pathfinder rank. So this is the mock-up of the Dark and Darker rank system. Here in the middle is Pathfinder, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, like the blue or like rare rank. So somewhere in the middle, you don't even have to really do like an amazing achievement, but you can get an exclusive title by getting Pathfinder just in the middle rank. So that seems like it would be relatively achievable over a 3-month period by anyone that was playing on a relatively regular basis. I think this is actually pretty cool. It might take a little while for the hardcores to get it, but I think over the course of 3 months, this should be achievable by just about everyone. What a hard flex to be able to get that early and be able to play as a Nightmare Skeleton, though. Really dope. What would be even cooler is if you hold a shield, if the Nightmare Skeleton gave you the lightning effect on the shield, just for the sake of blending, I think would be pretty sweet. I doubt that that's going to happen, but it would be cool. Other major changes include the introduction of 2 new player attributes. Vigor now determines max health of a character, while Dex determines a player's action speed. The next hotfix, we plan to continue our efforts on improving matchmaking. We'll continue to tune our MMR system and test the starting gear normal dungeons a bit longer. We also plan to test the ability for solo, duos, and squads to play across every locale currently in the game very soon. We're working on introducing the HR Ruin so duos can also earn a title. So that is even more interesting because there was a big question in terms of whether or not they were going to give us a high roller ruins. It appears they are working on one for everyone. So if you wanted there to be a high roller ruins, this should be a huge W for you, and it's a huge W for me. Actually, I think this is really, really cool. The next hotfix should also include features and fixes that we missed for this patch. We're polishing up the friends system, which we plan to release very shortly, and we knew that there was a possibility that the friends list wouldn't make it into the game by this patch. So I would assume that this is going to be in the next week or two. We're also unable to properly localize the Chinese and Japanese languages, and due to our current localization system, these languages will be temporarily unavailable until the next hotfix. Once we update the system, we should be able to start supporting more languages in the future. We also realize that the current adventure points aren't being counted fairly for teams, and we'll look to address this soon. Thank you for your patience and support. See you in the dungeons. So what they mean by adventure points is every single time that you escape from the dungeon in Dark and Darker, or when you kill stuff, break barrels, those kinds of things, you get a certain amount of adventure points. Most of that stuff is being tallied based on offensive things that you've done. So when you get a lot of kills on skeletons and whatnot, you tend to accrue those adventure points faster as a DPS character than you would as, like, say, a cleric that primarily heals and does backline things. Which means that when it comes to earning adventure points in places like High Roller, the adventure point system tends to favor people that are much more offensive and damage dealing than it does people that are on the backline side of things. So people that have the frontline capability of doing damage and looting more tend to rise through the adventure point ranks faster than people that do more support-related roles. So what they're saying here is that they know that there's an imbalance there, but they're working on it. So overall, this is really, really good. However, I will say that I am a little bit disappointed that I didn't see any type of balancing stuff or new additions or help being given to Warlocks. And I realize that there's people that will disagree with me, but trust me when I tell you, when it comes to the Warlock class, right now, there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of love there. Warlocks tend to reside within like this 5-meter cushion. You need somebody to stay in like this gray area about 5 meters from you in order to be able to cast curses on them and then, do some damage. So that way you can set up the fight and then get in there and try to hit them with your weapons. Right now, you need with current prices, you need like 1,000 gold worth of plus healing items in order for the Warlock to even come online enough to feel sustainable. And yes, there are secondary builds that rely more on life drain and doing much more melee-centric work. The problem with that when it comes to PvP interaction is that you don't have enough damage mitigation for physical damage resistance, let's say, in order to be able to tank the hits that you really need to be able to tank from ranged or from melee in order for that to feel like it's something that you can realistically do unless you become a parry god with a long sword. So they need some love right now. And I've suggested or made the suggestion in the past that they need a talent or some work being done on their armor to allow them to have like a higher physical damage resist. Because for a Warlock, if I'm being completely honest, when we start talking about like mid to late game, Warlocks need to be building into like the 40 and 50% PDR range and have the plus healing to boot in order for them to feel like they've really truly come online and act as somewhat of like a frontline fighter with a caster option as a secondary. Because right now, the way that the game is being played, you really need to be able to use the Warlock to be much more of a frontline entity than someone that kind of like runs around with spells that have no reach in order to be able to give any type of utility. And the only thing that they honestly have for utility is the Hydra, but the Hydra, along with the dots that you cast and or life drain, for somebody that has Torture Mastery, costs about 30% of your health in order to be able to make that a viable option. So you lose like 30% of the average Warlock's HP just to be able to create a little bit of space, which already puts you in a vulnerable position because if there's a wizard involved, or God forbid a ranger, you're probably just going to get headshot for the remainder of your HP if they end up being able to train in on you, even just for a couple of seconds. So they need some love. And I wish that they would include some patch notes giving that class some love, so it felt like it could get brought into like these more meta-sided comps. Right now, that unfortunately kind of feels like the redheaded stepchild of the game at the moment. Also, I would like to see some balance adjustments to Ranger. I know that everybody is getting tired of me saying this. To me, Ranger feels like it's a little bit on the outside of the power curve, if you will, compared to all of the other classes. It's a little bit too strong for me, I think, at this current moment in time. Even if you end up being a class that has a lot of PDR, I put myself in front of a couple of Rangers that had really decent gear, while I had a Cleric that had 70% PDR with a sword and shield on, and one longbow arrow from a halfway kitted, not even really like teethed out kitted Ranger ended up hitting me for about 40% of my life with 70% PDR just from a purple longbow. Nothing really crazy or special. So with that, I look at that it needs like a little bit of adjusting. And I know, again, some people are going to disagree, but that's okay. That's why we have these conversations. But I'd like to see there be a little bit of more balancing adjustment there. Overall, though, for what this is a really, really cool set of notes. I'm very interested to see what we have to be able to go into with it. I look forward to seeing you all in the dungeon in a handful of hours. I'm going to go take a nap, hang out with my family a little bit. We'll put some packs on the table, and we'll go back to the waiting room probably somewhere around 10 p.m. Eastern. So once this video is up, I'll be live in probably about 3 hours after that, and we'll see you in the next video in the meantime, okay? Thank you, everyone. Please feel free to sub the channel if you would be so kind. It really does matter. I'm live over at twitch.tv/Onepeg, and I simulcast now here on YouTube every single day at the same time, all right? Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.